everyone, and welcome to Real Wood Matters, a Real Wood podcast where we discuss the ins and outs of the forest products industry, from forest management to furniture trends. On this episode, we have Susan Pilato, CEO of Mantra Inspired Furniture, ready to share her expertise on wood in design. Let's dive right in. How are you doing today, Susan?
Doing great. Thank you, Sydney. Good to see you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh my goodness, it's my honor and pleasure.
All right. Can you tell me, just start off telling me a little bit about your story. How did you get started in design, and how did you come to own Mantra Inspired Furniture?
Well, it's a great lesson, and you never know where life might take you. So don't get so caught up in just your absolutes, right? I knew that I wanted to own my own business one day since I was a little thing, but I didn't always know what it was going to be. Uh, Interior design is my passion. I love it. That's who I've been. And we had a client that was standardized on solid wood furniture. And I really didn't understand how valuable of an asset that was at the time. I loved it. We were able to repair it. A lot of the furniture that's in their facilities right now still are. I'm sorry, the solid wood furniture I should designate, because the solid wood furniture is still there after 25 years. Much of the furniture that was veneer over MDF is long gone. There you go, right? Yeah. So in 2016, our hearts were broken because the news came through that Hardened Furniture was going out of business after 125 years. We were just shocked. And they had had a lot of hits through the 2008 recession. They did a lot of residential, but they were doing great with commercial, but they just couldn't, they just weren't able to make it work. So we were left with a situation that, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? So at the time, we were working with these lovely Mennonite partners, Jonathan and James, and doing some phenomenal custom work. And I went to them and I said, I cannot find anybody in our industry that does solid wood. And suddenly that was a shock to us. It's like, what do you mean there's no one doing solid wood? But I am telling you, we went through our whole commercial industry. They would do solid wood edge, but not solid wood. It was veneer over MDF or particle board. And we're like, that's not, I can't do that. So Mantra was born. We didn't know let's just say Mantra seed was planted. And so we teamed up with James and Jonathan, got with the Amish in Ohio, and were able to solve our problem. Well, we've done thousands of pieces at this point, and beautiful solid wood case goods and credenzas and such. But at that time, we were like, well, somebody needs to fill that spot. And we're like, well, why don't we do that? So there you go. Mantra was born. And the Mantra name came from the mantra that my business partner and I have lived by for our entire career since we started our business 30 years ago. And my dad, when I came out of college, gave me a little piece of paper that had 8 mantras on it. It was 8 mantras that he lived by. So we're like, well, we've already been living by this through our other business. Why don't we call this Mantra Inspired Furniture to recognize the mantra that he gave us and that we've been living by? So that's how all this came about. And here we are, loving designing with wood.
Yeah, it sounds like wood is a really big part of all of the furniture that you use, all the design that you have. Is it, if you're willing, are you willing and able to tell the audience and myself about the design of your home and office?
Yes, absolutely.
And your style? Tell me all about it. What are your favorite furnishings and finishes?
So I do love wood. And I understand more why I love it so much now than I have ever understood. And we're trying to bring this out to other designers of why we're so drawn, because it's nature. But in my house, so a lot of the designs that I do for clients, some require, because it's a banking facility, they might need a little more tradition with transitional. We have some industrial looking, My love is mid-century modern. So that my home was built in 1955, and she had great bones when we bought her, but we had to bring her down to her bones and reconstruct. And I just love it. And we put back wood. I have natural cherry, and I have like a dark walnut in there as well, and different room, depending on the room. But uh, I just love the clean lines of mid-century. And mid-century, if you look at the original design intent of that time, they really they brought the wood into the interiors through furniture, through floors, ceilings, uh, beams, that kind of thing. And I believe really they were bringing nature. That was their way, even though it was a very contemporary clean line design, nature just naturally provides the texture and the beauty. So I'm starting to understand it now that I've lived it for so long, and now that I am so in love with wood. It's natural that I, excuse the pun, really fell into that design aesthetic.
Oh my goodness. And how would you say that you spend your time when you're not designing furniture? It sounds like you spend a lot of time in the mid-century modern beauty of your house and the design all of there. But when you're not designing, I mean, is there a time that you're not designing? And if so, how do you spend your time?
Yeah, so I'd love just to spend some time on my own and just recharge after a week of just running, as many of us do, just running, running, running. Uh, my husband and I built a small little office in our backyard, and which is really mine. And we have a little porch, and I just love sitting there amongst the trees and just on my cool little rocking chair. And now when it's cold, I go inside, but there's a lot of windows, so I'm amongst the trees and nature, and it feels so good. And we are blessed to live on water as well, so I have that element. So it's just, I love that. On the other side, if it's in the summer, you might find us out on a boat wake surfing, and in the winter, I love to snowboard with my son. So I have a little of that going on too when I have some vacation time or some downtime.
I'm definitely seeing a theme of outside nature, being out in the woods, wherever you are.
Yes.
Does that then come into mantra-inspired furniture? Do you bring nature in with your furniture designs?
We do. We do. We just, because what we're doing, uh, it's all about the wood. We love, love solid wood. Now, there are parts of, depending on what we're making, we may have to put a veneer over plywood for stability on the back of a credenza, but the majority of our product is solid wood. And there's several reasons for that. One, longevity. It's durable. It lasts forever. It's going to outlast us. And the other part that I love about solid wood and the way you plank it up is the beauty of the imperfection. So when you talk about, are we bringing nature in? We really are. We're bringing that personality of the trees and the forest into the furniture and into the space. And so 100%, we are connecting nature into the office space every chance we get.
And would you say that that's something that mantra-inspired furniture does differently than
We
other
do.
furnitures?
We do. And like it had the creation of mantra really was inspired by the fact that there wasn't anybody that understood solid wood furniture anymore. Apparently, back in the 90s, that started going away, and which is a heartbreak. We allowed furniture to be bought from overseas to a point where it was mostly veneer over MDF. And even though the American companies here, we do still have American companies, a lot of them still do the veneer over these other substrates, and it's gotten thinner and thinner. So we just feel very strongly that the solid wood is something that people need to understand, not only the beauty, not only the importance of it because of the forest management, and I know we'll get into that in a bit, but it makes you feel good. Just it really does. That's not just a, like, I don't know, hippie thing. It's a real thing. And I'm cool being a hippie. You call me hippie, that's fine. But it's a real thing. You do feel better being around wood. And so I'm glad that mantra can help educate people, being that we are designers. We want to have that peer to peer discussion with other designers and help them to feel more comfortable about solid wood.
Before we get any more into the benefits of using real wood and all of the amazing things about wood and sustainability, I want to take a step back because I'm pretty new to the world of design, and I've only just started researching it because of Choose Wood, because of this podcast. But for those listening, those watching, and myself, could you give us a rundown of the industry, what design professionals do, the difference between commercial and residential design, and what materials designers typically use in projects? Just a full rundown, if you could.
Sure, absolutely. So there, you brought it up. There's residential and there's commercial. So I'll just start with the commercial. Um, that those designers typically work with architects. So it's a team effort, right? You've got architects, engineers, you've got your interior designers. The interior designers are in charge of how you feel when you come into that space. So they're going to be involved in the space planning with the architects. They're going to be involved in all the design, like you may walk into, say, a hospitality space and you'll see tall ceilings. The designer probably had something to do with that. The lighting that's in there, how the lighting's designed, the lighting fixtures, all the way down to the accessories. I mean, it's very, very, very detailed, and that's with office spaces and all that. So you're looking at, they're involved from the space planning, the what they call programming for the space, interviewing the client. Interior designers have everything to do with the branding as well for that client. So you're thinking marketing. What do you want to say about your company in that space? So there's specifications of the furniture, the fabrics, I mean, you name it. It can be down to the monitor arms on for the desk to attach the monitors to. Artwork. I mean, a lot of detail. Interior designers are typically very, very, very detail oriented, but they love that freedom of design. So there's that balance there. Residential, that's a different platform because you're working with an individual and their space for their home. So you're not dealing with, sometimes you're dealing with architectural teams, but a lot of times clients may just bring the interior designer in after they've built their home. It's better if they do it while they're building the home, but it could be from the bathroom tile and helping with that. Now, commercial does do that too because there's bathrooms and commercial spaces. So there is some crossover. However, with residential, you don't have the codes that you have to abide by. Well, you do have some, but not to the extent that you do with commercial because you're dealing with public space and safety. So residential is it doesn't require an education, though many are educated. It does. Commercial, you really need to have an education background, so you understand all the parameters that are involved and how they're all connected. So with residential, you may specify wood floors, and you can do that in commercial, but it's very specific spaces, and depending on if it's healthcare, you have to deal with infection control and all that. So there's a lot of consideration and understanding in the commercial world. I will tell you with specifications. I will tell you though, in the commercial world, when you're talking about wood, one specification for a wood product could be equal to 20 houses, say, because the commercial spaces are much larger. There's, say, offices, you may have 20 offices and you may have 20 opportunities to use solid wood furniture in there, which when you talk about carbon sink, that's a nice carbon sink, right? If you use a solid wood. So does that help
Yeah, it helps a
differentiate the
lot.
two?
Absolutely. Um, okay, so going back a little bit, my parents very recently built a new house, and they did the whole designer thing. My mom brought in a designer, worked very closely with her, and that designer recommended so many different kinds of floors, but none of them were real wood.
That breaks my heart.
Yeah, it's and then I come and I learn more about wood here, and I'm like, what? Why wouldn't you do that? So can you tell me why you use real wood in your designs? And then we can talk about where that designer went wrong.
Yeah. Well, and the reason that we do now, I understand there are some, like I mentioned, healthcare. Be, uh, you have to understand infection and what the healthcare facility is dealing with blood and fluids and stuff we don't really want to talk about. But if you're trying to bring in warmth into a space, say hospitality has a little reception area that or meeting areas. Same thing with some of our clients that have customer waiting. We use wood there. We use wood sometimes in the boardrooms. Um, that is to warm the places up. Now, why do I use solid wood? Because you can refinish it, because you can fix it. And if you're going to do a commercial space, there are harder finishes. And if you've got a good hardwood installer, he or she will understand what to do, what the proper application will be for that space. But you can use the engineered wood. Sydney, they have worked so hard to make these engineered wood floors sound like real wood floors. I mean, which is crazy, but is the truth. So, you can get that hollow sound when you're walking on it, and people don't want that. They want the real thing. Well, why don't you use the real thing? So anyway, there's also they will push back and say, I cannot install on concrete slab a solid wood. It is easier to do a floating plywood veneer engineered wood floor. I get that, but there are ways to do it because we've done it. And it's the installer. If you can work with a good installer, you can use real wood in commercial settings that have concrete slab. It's harder to do that, but it can be done. So, and then you've got the LVTs and all that, which are the vinyl planks. And that certainly doesn't feel like wood. Now they've gotten better about the texture and they've come a long way. But at the end of the day, it's not wood. It's not going to sound and it's not going to feel like it.
No. You mentioned this earlier, but can you tell me more about the, I believe, environmental benefits of using real wood in design? Let's talk about that.
Well, let's do, because, people want to say that they're very concerned about the earth, and as they should be, and sustainability. And if you really do want to be responsible in your selections, wood is a renewable source. We cut down trees, they grow back, right? Okay, so when you're talking about vinyl or the veneer over plywood, that you can, and you have scratches, you have wear, you have tear. What are you going to do with it after, say, 5 to 8 years? You're probably going to have to rip it out and throw it away. And where does that go? The landfill. You're talking about vinyls. They're not easy to recycle. I don't care what they will tell you. They're not easy to recycle. And even still, typically the construction guy is looking to demo that crap out of there, throw it in a dumpster, and get his stuff in. So you really have to be conscious of ripping that out and taking it to it's too much trouble and people won't do it. With wood, you can refinish it, just like the old days. I mean, you look at all these houses, and by the way, those houses, even the commercial spaces, and you can do walls, by the way, walls and ceilings. You got beams, and there's so many opportunities to use wood, but it lasts. I mean, there are homes that have wood floors that are 200 years old. I mean, we have them in the United States. So we don't have that with the vinyl or the engineered, and you're not going to.
Wood that lasts more than just one lifetime. It lasts multiple.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. My goodness. Have you encountered people in the design world? I mean, it sounds to me like there are quite a few people in the design world who don't know these things. I mean, you're a prominent figure from what I've heard in the design world, and you meet with lots of people, designers at big architecture firms, design firms. Tell me about a time that you met with one where they didn't know real wood offered environmental advantages.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've got a couple of stories like that.
I do, and it, it's shocking, right? You think that it's because you know a bit about wood now, and I've been involved in it. You would think, okay, common sense, but it really isn't. It really isn't, and here's why: there has been so much greenwashing out there, and I explained to you all the details that a designer is responsible for. What I didn't tell you is that the time frames of those projects are constantly changing, and there is so much stress on these designers to get that job, the specifications done. So they just need an easier way to understand, yes, this is sustainable, and they feel and see through some certifications and so forth that they're making the right choice. And they're not wrong, but there's so much more, and we're learning this, right? We're learning more about thinking of sustainability in a more holistic way. What I mean by that is what you're specifying, is it renewable? Is it a renewable resource? Is it something that's going to last? So often we're just, choosing things that because we've got the samples in our library, it's the client said, yeah, I'm fine with this. And it's just, let's go. So really educating not only the designer, but the clients, the end users, to understand that, yes, it may cost a bit more to use the wood up front, but longevity, right? And fixability and repairability and all that. The long game is where sustainability has a lot of importance. That, or I should say, the longevity is very much important. And when you're talking about sustainability, because we forget and don't think about, not only are we choosing products that we want to feel are sustainable for the space, and they may be at that time, but what are they going to be 10 years ago if they have to rip it out and throw it away? Is it sustainable then? So there's a lot of focus on how it's made, what the carbon footprint and all this of that actual product being made, and how much carbon it costs to make that particular product, which is important, but we're not focusing enough on down the road. Okay. So we are talking about recyclability and all that, we are, but so often I see they'll say it's recyclable, but there's no who's receiving it, and it may be recyclable, but is there someone to recycle it? And that's a big hole in the industry. And I'm not talking about design industry, I'm talking about just recycling industry.
Why do you think that architects and designers have missed this real wood environmental message that this longevity is better than any kind of in the moment rush? Why do you think they missed this message?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is that there's such a focus on certifications? Do you have an EPD? Is this certified? Is that, and it's because they need that so that they can check that box. What we're losing, in my opinion, is a bit of common sense and understanding of how forests work. Sydney, we've got this idea that in order to get wood, a mountainside has to be clear cut. That's just this is what people are visualizing in their head, because these are the images that were shown over and over and over again. And I'm a tree hugger. I love trees. And I don't think that there was any malintent by environmentalists to create the situation that is at hand. But nonetheless, they created this because we swung too far over to protect forests, which is important. Absolutely. You and I want to protect the forest because we want them to keep growing and producing wood, and we want that cycle. Absolutely. But we are loving our forest to death. We are not, and architects and designers don't know that. That's what we want to do, right? That's why you and I are talking right now. We want them to understand this, and this is why we have got to move quickly, because things are happening at a rapid pace. We're seeing it. We're losing sawmills, and these are the people that watch over our forest. But there's this idea that they're the bad guys, that they are taking all this down, and it's all about the money and and it's nonsense. That's not. Of course, we all need to make a living, of course. And we all choose how we're going to make that living. But what people don't understand, that in North America, we are the most responsible harvesters in the world. We're not doing what Indonesia and Brazil are doing. We're not doing that. We're not clear cutting and putting in agriculture and all that at the pace that's happening in other countries. We don't do that. There are laws and regulations. The problem is the architects and designers don't understand all this, because I'm going to tell you, I didn't know this until I got into this world. And I think part of the universe inspiration here of getting me and my team involved in this is so that we can help have that peer-to-peer discussion and educate other designers like us who didn't know, just like we didn't know.
Our industry plays a large role in the state of Missouri, much larger than most people realize.
There's a misconception that by cutting down forests and cutting down trees, that you are harming the planet in any way, and that's just simply not true.
We have a stronger, healthier forest than we've had in over 100 years.
Are there people in the industry, designers, architects, firms, sustainability officers, even clients, who, like you, have gone out of their way to choose to advocate for real wood? Because we focus a lot on, people don't know. Who does know?
Well, there really are. Lisa Adams from HKS, she's the sustainability director, design director there. She does get it. She really does. And what she is up against, again, is in order for them to have, they call it lead points, and it's basically a point system of, if you use FSC certified wood, then you get a point, that kind of thing. What we've got to do and try to do is help us get recognized as a safe choice without so many of these certifications. Why? The certifications are costly. They are costly. And when you're talking small sawmills and they're looking at whether they are going to meet their payroll or pay for a certification, it's going to payroll. So, and it's that serious. I mean, I am not exaggerating here. It is expensive. It's a yearly cost, and it's a lot of work just to say that they're doing the right, just to prove they're following the law. I mean, I talked to a friend of mine and I said, it's kind of like how you assume as a business that I'm paying my taxes. I assume you as a business, you're paying your taxes. It's like getting a certification proving, like with a stamp saying that I pay my taxes so that my friend can say, okay, I'm doing business with someone who actually does pay her taxes.
Yep.
So, it's, again, education, trying to help people understand this. But we all recognize we've got some hurdles and obstacles in a way that we need to figure out how collectively as a group, and that's working with people like you, how do we get past this? How can we get these obstacles out of our way?
I think one of the best ways, at least that I've encountered, of bringing wood and the benefits of it to the forefront, at least for consumers, is being able to point out where real wood is used. So I've heard you say for commercial projects like museums, theaters, libraries, hotels, restaurants, hospitality,
Yep.
that could help turn the tide as well, especially in residential design. People see the beautiful wood species. I mean, there's some behind me, there's some on the floor in front of me, and they see these installations in their favorite venues and they realize that they want that warmth, that elegance, durability, the longevity that you mentioned. Can you point us to any of the big commercial projects that have incorporated real wood that you know of?
Well, I can point one out that you just have to look it up because it's just phenomenal. It's the new Portland Airport.
Okay.
They used the whole airport is wood. It is stunning, and it was very intentional. And think about that. So you're walking through an airport, and typically, I mean, where is one of the most stressful places to be when you're traveling? You know, right? So talking about, I mean, how brilliant is this? I mean, they're like, okay, we're going to calm it down. Plus, it's Oregon, so they're known for their nature. They're also known for their wood. And it's just somebody had turned me on to this and said, you got to check this out. And I was like, wow. So it really right there, how many people will be inspired because they're going to feel a difference when they go through that airport, and they're going to feel like, wow, this is different.
Yeah.
This is different. Why do I feel so much better? Typically airports are, a lot of them, they have the lower ceilings. So you're seeing the new airports have the higher ceilings, which is a good thing. They have the Terrazzo 4, which is easy for you to wheel that suitcase through. And that's good. I mean, I'm all for it. Terrazzo also lasts for a long, long time. It's an older technology, right? But they're still using it. But the wood ceilings, the wood walls, all that. I mean, you're walking, you just feel like you just can feel just like in your studio, you just feel the warmth. Yeah. You feel the trees. And you may not realize right at first, like, what is it that I'm feeling better? A lot of restaurants, you're seeing more and more. Starbucks, my goodness, they're using wood like crazy. There's a reason. That's not by accident. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing because they want you to feel good. They want you to feel good when you come in there, right? And so they want you to want to come back.
Yep.
And you think about some of the spaces you walk in. If anybody that's listening, start paying attention to how you feel when you walk into some of the spaces you go into, whether it's hospitality, whether it's medical offices, whether it's your office, whatever. Think about how you feel when you walk into one environment as opposed to another. And just see for yourself.
I think I've heard of a term for that, and it's called neuroaesthetics, right?
It is. That's right.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because I feel like we're getting there anyway. Tell me a little bit more about the benefits of real wood in neuroaesthetics, especially for neurodiverse folks. I'm going to do a little plug here. A member of your design team, Matt Cheadle, authored a white paper devoted to what he called natural harmony, solid wood's role in a neurodiverse world. Let's talk about that. I feel like this is a natural segue.
Yes, it is. So the neuroaesthetics, it's pretty cool. And you're hearing more about it now, but it's involving science with art, right? So it's like studying how like your brain, like how you react to art, to your space, that kind of thing. And they're measuring that now. So neurodiversity, we're also finding that, quite frankly, we're all on the spectrum. You hear about people say, such and such is on the spectrum, and you typically think of autistic, but in reality, we're part of that. We all are, because we're all diverse. We're all different. Now, some have more challenges than others, right? You have ADHD, you do have autism, you have ADD, you have a variety of neurodiverse people, and then there's what they call neurotypical. All right. So what we have found, and Matt's paper is just wonderful, and it describes it perfectly, and especially if you're in the design field, it's an absolute must to read. But what we have found is the importance of nature and the calming effect it has on people, especially neurodiverse. You want lower lighting. You don't want loud noises. And the wood, when it's especially in a natural finish, okay, and you've got that grain and you can feel it. You know the difference. A human knows the difference when they touch a wood top as opposed to a plastic or a wood look-alike. You can feel the difference, and that does, your brain is not going to be tricked. It just is not. So neurodiverse people can sense that. They're highly, the sensory is a big, big deal. Their sensitivity, right, to the sensory is very high. So on some of our furniture, one collection in particular called Unity, she has rounded a bull nose to her. She's about 1.25 inches thick, so she's got some thickness to her. And that soft feeling, that soft edge is very attractive to neurodiverse people because it's just, there's not a sharp edge. It's, so if you think about it, now what's really interesting is neurotypical people love the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we're delving into this design program, so to speak, for neurodiverse people, what we're finding is it's really what everybody wants. So that's the beauty of diversity. We may be very diverse, but at the same time, we're all human. And being in nature, I don't care who you are or what challenges you might have. Being in nature feels good. And it feels good because it's supposed to. That's where humans feel their best. And that's part of the neuroscience behind all this. So it's really cool. And Matt has a child that is autistic. Okay. So from a personal place, he understood it and wanted to, again, bring out the education that he has had from all of that he's learned because of his son to people so that they can understand how they could use what he has learned to benefit them. And wood, it just so happens, wood really is a big player in all this. So we're just having a great time learning. And I love to learn. And the more we learn, the more excited we are that we're involved with solid wood. There's so many ways to carve wood and to design with wood to not only benefit neurodiverse, but neurotypical. It's a benefit to all at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I mean, with all of these reasons, I mean, the environmental reasons, the beauty, the neuroaesthetics, it seems harder and harder to find reasons why designers wouldn't use real wood. But I do have one more that we'll put up here, and then you can debate that one or prove me wrong, I guess. So I've heard that in the past, some furniture designers felt reluctant to use real solid wood because shipping finished pieces can cost so much because solid wood is heavier. But at Mantra Inspired Furniture, correct me if I'm wrong, you figured out how to design around that challenge with furniture you can pack and ship affordably. How's that possible,
Yes.
Susan? How's that possible?
So you're 100% right. That's so when you think about, and it's not just wood, shipping table bases, right? It's we were paying attention to how big the bases, or how big the box had to be to put a base into, whether it's steel, whether it's wood, whatever it is. Being designers, we see it, right? We see it arrive on site. So we all love solving problems. That's part of being a designer. You love those challenges. And we're like, there's got to be a better way. And we did come up with a way that you can take a base, a solid wood base apart and flat pack the base and the top and ship her out. So that's a side table, a coffee table, a meeting table. I mean, you could do that with a 42 by 42 table and have the base. You could order two of them and you've got a 42 by 84 conference table. If you want to have two tables and split them apart, it gives you flexibility. And the other thing about that too is if you ordered a top and it's like, it's a little bit too big, you can cut it down. You don't have to send it back or wait for another one to come in. So it's just so much you can do because it's solid and you're not dealing with an edge band. You're not dealing with particle board or MDF. By the way that particle board and MDF react if you have a leak in the ceiling. Now, if you have a flood, that can ruin any kind of wood product. But I have been eyewitness to leaks in offices. It's happened in my office. And the wood furniture is fine. Solid wood furniture is fine. I've also seen where it was a wood look-alike that was wrapped like a thermofoil wrapped around particle board. Same thing, leak, and that thing just blew up.
Oh my gosh.
Because it just expanded. So, water gets in it and just expands. You're done. You have to throw the whole thing out. Where does it go? The landfill.
Yep.
With the solid wood, you can refinish it, or you could take it and replane it. So with the shipping, going back to your original point, it's not only just about the shipping. It's like what happens when it gets there. You can also repair it. You can change it over time, like 5 years from now. You get kind of tired of it and you say, you know what? I want a different color. Stain her differently. Stain her a different color. Paint her. Whatever you want to do. So it's not just about how we designed it to flat pack, which is pretty cool, really cool. Because how many times do you see a flat packed solid wood table of any sort?
Never.
Right.
Never. I see it in store and I think, how am I going to get that home?
Right. And you don't see it with any of the, you don't see it often like with any of the veneer and all that. The basis that they use, they can't do that. They can't. And if they do, it's usually an IKEA type of situation, right? It's like, and you better get it right the first time because it'll fall apart. And so then you have another situation you're dealing with. So yeah, it's, and we've got some pretty cool things for this year. So there's a show called NeoCon that happens in June. And we've got two prototypes in the works right now, both solid wood, both with the idea of being able to flat pack, but with a specific type of design. So one of them came through perfect. It's good to go. We'll be showing her this year. And we've got another one that is in the engineering process. So we'll see, but it's looking good. It's looking good. And that's what's cool about solid wood. It's pretty stable. It is heavy. You're right about that, but it's heavy because it's holding all that carbon. Isn't that a good thing?
That's a good thing because it'll hold that for hundreds of years.
That's right.
That's what I've learned. Oh my
That's right. It's true.
Susan, I want to be mindful of your time. You are a busy woman. One last thing. If you could speak directly to your fellow designers, maybe some architects out there, about using real wood in projects, what would you say to them?
I would say to them this: think about what makes you feel good. Think about the times that you feel your best. Where are you? Are you on vacation? Where are you? Are you outside? Chances are you're around wood, you're around nature. So let's talk about how good we are in this country about taking care of our most precious resource, and that's wood. Learn, please take the time and the effort to learn the truth about how we take care of our beautiful forest, and learn about the wonderful people that are the harvesters that do care, that are out there. They are out there looking at these trees, determining, are you ready? Are you ready? And when they say yes, they take care to get that tree back to the sawmill. And that sawmill takes good care of the tree with the goal in mind of getting that wood in front of someone. And when I look at whether it's a wood floor, whether it's our solid wood desk or tabletops, I think about where it came from and the life it led until it could get to me, so that I could enjoy it. And the people along the way that touched that tree, the wood, it's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story to be told. And these designers, who I know, these designers and architects, they want beautiful stories in their projects. They want that. They want their clients to enjoy it. This is one of the best ways you could accomplish that. And if they would just rethink and unlearn some of these mistruths that we have been told, because I believed them too at one time. And I have found out it's just not the way of reality. Perception is reality, I get that. But we also have a responsibility to understand what reality is, so that we can write our perception to line up with the truth.
Wow. Well, that's all for today's episode. Thank you to our guest, Susan Pilato, and thank you to our sponsor, Choose Wood. And thank you for listening, and choose wood.